One of the more unbelievable things is happening to teams after they play the Lions. Check it out.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. Another episode of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. It is a Tuesday, October 8th and a Wednesday, October 9th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. That could be on Spotify. That could be on Apple. For those of you watching on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel, what's up? Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking us out. As we got a big week here, the Lions are in prime time. Sunday, 4:25, the big Fox window. The NFL game of the week, Fox game of the week, Tom Brady on the call. If you listened to the show last night, you heard my thoughts on Brady. Yes, I'm still coughing. I still have a cold. It's been over a week. I've taken every medicine in the books. Maybe it's time for Mucinex. I don't know. I don't care. Right now, I'm focused on entertaining you for the next 25 minutes. Locked On Lions today is proudly brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. I have. Create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Follow us on Twitter, Derry Speaks, Locked On Lions, Matt Derry Facebook fan page, where the conversation is always delightful. And of course, please subscribe and watch us for free on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Coming up on the show today, Chris Long's been pointing this out on the Green Light podcast. Our buddy Cleve TA on Twitter also pointing this out, but the Lions are absolutely destroying people physically. I'm going to explain what the results of this hypothesis are coming up momentarily. Big firing in the NFL today. A guy that, yes, yours truly. What's up, Twitter world? Yours truly. You remember years ago, I pushed for the Lions to hire Robert Saleh. Oops. He got fired today. By the Jets. We got our call of the day today. One of our everydayers checks in, which leads to a question about edge rushers. We will get into all of that right here on this Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Tomorrow, an old buddy, if you were a listener of my Detroit Sports 105.1 radio show many years ago, all 6 of my listeners, if you were one of them, you remember we had Trey Wingo on a lot. He was hosting NFL Live on ESPN. Trey is with DraftKings now, does a pregame show. He's all over the internet. We love Trey. He's coming on tomorrow. We're supposed to have him on last week. We're going to have him on this week. Trey Wingo tomorrow. Shout out to my new Fogo de Sean coffee mug. It's wide. I can throw my water in there. It's fantastic. Thank you. You know who you are. All right. This is crazy. Chris Long has been talking about it on the Green Light podcast. I know my brother Todd, who will be joining me tomorrow down at the corner of Montcalm and Witherell for a big game 3. Check out the Derry Brothers Guardians cast for you baseball fans. My brother is always talking about the Chris Long podcast, the Green Light podcast, talking NFL football and everything else. And Chris is the one that's beating this drum, and I'm kind of using it for the show today. It's amazing. It's the Campbell hangover. You play the Lions. The next week, you get blasted. The Lions are so physical. The Lions hit you. The Lions block you. The Lions tackle you. The Lions punish you. And that's the kind of team that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and Chris Spielman and everybody has built over the last few years. And it's come full circle. Go back to week 18 in Green Bay in 2022. Go back to last season where the Lions made the NFC Championship game, and now go to this season. Lions are off to a 3-1 start, and again, playing physical football, dominating up front, and they kind of are, a reflection of this city. Physical, tough, all of that stuff. But this is incredible. Lions open up the season against the Rams, right? The next week, after the Lions beat the Rams lost to Arizona 41-10. They got absolutely, jaw-jacked by Zona. Week 2, Lions lose to Tampa Bay. The next week, the Bucks at home get big legged by Denver. They drop that Hulk Hogan big leg on them 26-7. So 2 teams the Lions play. The next week, they get absolutely poleaxed. Week 3, Lions go into Arizona. They beat the Cardinals. Cardinals in week 4 get sandblasted by the Commanders 42-10. Washington runs the football down their throats. All right. Just destroys Arizona. And now for the coup de grace. This one I didn't see coming. Lions knock off the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Short work week for Mike McDonald's ball club. And the Seahawks lose at home by 9 points to the New York Football Giants. Big G's Giants beat them 29-20. 4 teams, 4 losses, having played the Lions the week before. Now, our buddy Cleve TA on Twitter, numbers guru, he points out, let me find this. The last 2 seasons, teams on normal or short rest following playing the Lions are now 3-10-1 against the spread, 4-10 straight up. This year, 0-4, both with the spread and straight up. A -26 against the spread margin. Obviously, way too small of a sample size to make conclusions, as TA says, but theoretically, more physical opponents like Detroit could be a factor the next week. I love this. This never happens around here. This is the Detroit Lions that are punishing people. And I bring this up for 2 reasons. 1, I think it's a cool stat. I love it. Number 2, remember, and I didn't prepare as well as I should have, so hold on, I'm going to fix this right here, right now. But remember, in 2 weeks, your Detroit Lions play the Minnesota Vikings. That is on October the 20th in Minnesota. The next week, the Vikings play, and a short week at the Rams, having to go out west for a Thursday night game. That's great. The Lions are trying to catch the Vikings. Minnesota's off to this 5-0 start. Lions off a bye 3-1. So they're a game and a half back. Let's say they go into Minnesota next week and they whoop up on the Vikings or they win the football game. Then you kind of think in your head, Minnesota's got a short week and got to play the Rams on the road. And they're beat up. That's the team you're looking up at right now in the NFC North. And we touched on it last night on the late night pod. The NFC North is 14-5. Best winning percentage the league, the division has had in decades. Best start for a team, for a division since 2019. It's incredible. Nobody expected this. People expected the division to be better. I always said I thought the Vikings were going to be better than people thought. I didn't think that Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores would have them at 5-0. But if the Lions can somehow win this week against Dallas, win next week in Minnesota, not going to be easy, although I'm telling you they're going to beat the Cowboys. I told you this yesterday. I'm telling you it again today. Dallas, oh my gosh, I need my water. Dallas is no match for the Lions. They're not. The Lions are such a better team. And if the Cowboys don't have Micah Parsons, it sounds like they're not going to have Deron Bland either, according to Jarrett Jones on his radio show today. The Lions are in good shape. Cowboys without Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence and Deron Bland and a very upset CeeDee Lamb right now and no running game. Come on. We know what's happened the last couple of times down in Dallas, and the referees screwed us last year. But, wow, the Lions got to beat Dallas. But if they can somehow beat the Vikings next week and know that they're on a short work week, it's pretty impressive what the Lions are doing to other teams. I love this. It's exactly what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell set out to for the path of the organization. We want to be strong, we want to be tough, and we want to be this type of team. Before we go to break here, shout out to our everydayers who watch or listen to the show every day. I got to give a special plug to Brian DeZierman. Brian D., Brownstown Township legend. Our mutual friend and your next door neighbor told me about you, Brian. Thank you for watching us and listening to us daily here on Locked On Lions. All right, coming up next, Robert Saleh. Peace. He's out. We'll discuss right here on Locked On Lions. Hey, but first, Locked On Lions brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Get in on the action tonight. NLDS going on. Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, Padres. Get in on it at FanDuel. Hey, guess what? NBA preseason action tonight. Woo-hoo-hoo! The Fighting Ishbias are at East Lansing's Breslin Center to take on your Detroit basketball Pistons. Pistons Suns tonight. If you're a degenerate gambler and want to bet on preseason NBA, do it at FanDuel. They got the odds. You want to start the season with a big return on FanDuel NFL fans, America's #1 sports book. So let me tell you this. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com, America's number one sports book. And hey, we got to welcome a new sponsor to the program. Yes, it is our friends at Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? How about history, econ, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution? Did you study these things in school? All right, probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they've not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. That is why you got to check out our new sponsor, excuse me, our friends at Hillsdale College. They're offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including, like I said, Introduction to Free Market Economics. If you love money and you like the science of money and financial stuff like I do, check out the Introduction to Free Market Economics. Brand new documentary style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism as well at Hillsdale. All right. Fantastic stuff. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever you want, tune in wherever, and you go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. It's all online. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, we are back on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, Matt Derry with you, bad voice and all. I just can't kick this cold and cough. I can't. I've tried. It's terrible. People are like, oh, it's the weather. I think I was at too many events last week and didn't hand sanitize enough. There will be no hand sanitizer after Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh embrace or hug or kiss or even shake hands. That is because it's over in New York. Robert Saleh was fired today by Jets owner Woody Johnson. He's off to a 20-36 start as head coach. And if you recall, during the 2021 hiring period that included the likes of David Culley to the Texans, Brandon Staley to the Chargers, Arthur Smith to the Falcons, Uncle Urban Meyer to Jacksonville, and Nick Sirianni to Philly, that's when the Lions hired Dan Campbell. 5 have been fired. Saleh, Culley, Meyer, Staley, Smith, gone. Sirianni's on the hot seat in Philly, and Dan Campbell is reigning supreme here in Detroit, entering year number 4. That Saleh thing is crazy. Number one, of course, he was from Dearborn. He was a defensive coordinator of the 49ers, and he just looked like the next Lions head coach. If you recall, at that time, Sheila Hamp had taken a more active role with the team as owner, hired Chris Spielman, and you could do the timeline, but I think it appears that Spielman or whomever was first looking at coaching and GM. Saleh really was never in the mix here. He ends up going to the Jets. A lot of people, including me, I thought he'd do well there. Defensive coach, tough-minded Jets team, good D-line, Sauce Gardner, all these guys that were there. Yet, it just did not work out for Saleh in New York. And the Lions are, I'm not saying reaping the benefits, but this was a guy in Saleh that you could tell very early on with Aaron Rodgers that they weren't clicking. Jets are off to a 2-3 start. Their owner, Woody Johnson, is the ambassador to the UK. So he's over there in London watching in front of his buddies. And Aaron Rodgers throws 3 picks, and the Jets get embarrassed by the Vikings. It's a bad loss. And they leave 2-3. And some people were picking them to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. So Saleh is out. Wasn't even fired by the GM, Joe Douglas. He was fired by the owner and didn't even get to address the team today either. How about that? They told him, clean out your stuff. And security is allegedly and reportedly whisked him away to his car, and that's it. Lions made the right choice. Sheila Hamp made the right choice in bringing Dan Campbell in here. Saleh never looked the part. When Rodgers got hurt last year and Zach Wilson was playing, and he kept playing Wilson. And I'm not saying that going to his third quarterback or Tim Boyle or the kid from Northwestern or any of those people would have been anything better, Trevor Siemian and others. But Saleh sticking with Zach Wilson and just decision-making and everything else did not work. And this was a guy that you think will likely get a second chance at some point. But right now, the Lions made the right call in not bringing him in. And again, a lot of those coaches are already gone. 7 were hired, 5 have been fired. And again, a rarity to sit here and talk about and laud our local football team for doing it right and bringing in the right coach. All right. Dan Campbell's 500 right now, his overall record. What is it, like 27-1, something along those lines. Let me make sure I'm correct. Yes, 27-1. And remember, first 24 games, the Lions went 4-19-1 under Dan Campbell. But he's won 2 playoff games. He's got his team in position again to be very, very good this year, 3-1. Schedule's going to be tough coming up. 4 out of the next 5 on the road. You're going to find out about this team, but this team loves playing for this guy. His staff has stayed. Ben Johnson stayed. Aaron Glenn stayed. Hank Fraley stayed. I mean, these are all people that could have left. Brunell. They had a really, really good staff with the Lions. And it's a testament to a guy like Dan Campbell, who can also go out and recruit free agents and has done so. People want to play for this man. Saleh, issues he had with Aaron Rodgers. You could just see it on the sidelines. Rodgers after games disputing things that Saleh says. When you don't have the team on the same page and you're not rallying around your leader, you got nothing. You got bubkiss. You got to have a coach. You got to have a quarterback if you're going to win in this league, and the Lions have both. So that was some pretty big news of the day. All right, our call of the day is coming up next. We're going to play this audio and then react to it. From our buddy Michael Fleischer, love Michael, one of our everydayers. And again, speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page if you want to be our call of the day, and we'll play your voicemail on this show. Keep it clean, keep it short. And we'll do another call of the day, let's say later in the week, maybe Friday. We got Trey Wingo tomorrow, Marcus Mosier, excuse me, from Locked On Cowboys, also on Thursday for the Thursday crossover. But let's play Michael's audio, his call of the day, and then we will respond to it next. But Michael Fleischer, our buddy in Birmingham, checking in with our call of the day.
Hey, Matt, Michael from Birmingham. Love the show. Wanted to get your thoughts on who are some other pass rushers that realistically the Lions could try to trade for that might be available to play opposite Aiden Hutchinson.
All right, Michael, that's a good question. And I have compiled a list. It's not a great list, but it's a list of guys on bad teams right now that might get jettisoned at the trade deadline. We will do that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. But first, folks, Locked On Lions is proudly sponsored today by our friends at Gametime. It is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. My Cleveland Guardians are in an absolute dogfight with the Detroit Tigers. You know I got to be in the stadium tomorrow. Of course. 308, let's rock. Only place to get the tickets on the Gametime app. Just went right here on my phone and did it up. Ordered up a couple of tickets. I'll be sitting upstairs. I like being high up at Comerica so I can see everything. And my brother and I will hopefully see a Cleveland win for us, but I know all you fans want the Tigers, so whatever. I'll leave it at that. But regardless, I love the Gametime app because it gives you your price up front, view from your seat, and everything else. Gametime 2 right now has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Already told you about my experience on Gametime. I absolutely love it. And that view from your seat is the best. You get a panoramic view so you know exactly where you're sitting in the app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Michael asked a very good question. What edge rushers could be available to the Lions via trade if Brad Holmes feels the need to pull the trigger? I've been saying it. Opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, there's not been much in terms of the pass rush from the edge. All right, Josh Paschal has had his moments. Marcus Davenport had his moments before he was injured for the season. Derek Barnes is likely lost for the year, and the Lions are in need of some help on the edge. James Houston's on the roster. Ukwu and Agude are on the practice squad. They mix and match and sometimes have Onzarike out there, and they move guys to the outside. But what if Brad Holmes picks up the phone on election day, actually, NFL trade deadline November 5th, and wants to make a phone call? He's got a month to do it. Here are some names, Michael, who asked. Number one, the Browns are terrible. Zadarius Smith is out there. They're not going to trade Myles Garrett, but Z Smith, the former Viking, who knows the division very well, is a good football player. That could be one name. Number two, what about Carolina? They are god-awful. Would the Lions bring in Jadeveon Clowney? I'd say no. I do not think he's a culture fit here at all. The Lions always say they want to bring in Lions, someone that fits the profile of this locker room. I don't see a scenario where Clowney gets traded, acquired. Another interesting name is a guy the Lions did not bring back. And he was actually, people were saying they were seeing him in Royal Oak. Charles Harris. Could Charles Harris come back? He had a really bad year for the Lions last year. He was hurt, wasn't much of a factor. It's a name. You asked for names, I'm giving you names. In Tennessee right now, the Titans are bad. Sebastian Joseph Day, ex of the Chargers, has been kind of a guy that's moved around a lot. He's got a couple of sacks this year for the Titans. Keep an eye on SJD. Also in Tennessee, Arden Key. Arden Key came out of LSU, and people said this is the next Lawrence Taylor. And he wasn't that way in San Francisco. He hasn't been that way in Tennessee. But on a bad Titans team that might be looking to acquire a draft pick, Arden Key is a name. And the last one is interesting because he's not necessarily an edge rusher, but I've watched him play a little bit, and that's Daniel Equale of the Patriots. Can get to the quarterback, more of a Paschal build type, more of an defensive tackle first, edge second, but Daniel Equale can play a little football. been in the league for like 5-6 years. In New England right now, we know the Patriots stink. Maybe they, I would be looking to trade a guy in his 6th season. But those are just some names to keep an eye on. If the Colts keep struggling, look at their roster too. I'm not saying you're going out and getting Kwity Paye. He's not coming to Detroit. But keep an eye on Indy too. They got Paye, they got Latu, they got Buckner. But after that, I'm assuming Chris Ballard would be willing to make a deal. We shall see. But right now, it's still going to be quiet, and the Lions are going to roll with who they have. And those are guys that they're comfortable with. We're going to have Marcus Mosier on from Locked On Cowboys Thursday. I'll say it again. Lions have to win this game Sunday at 4:25. Dallas is not good. They're an average football team, and they're banged up. Got to take advantage of that this week. Trey Wingo tomorrow, right here on Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe and watch us on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Wednesday show tomorrow.